Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's time for an edition of No Capes. We talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes. These are for books for the week of October 8th, 2014. Let's talk some books. I got quite a few to talk about. First up, FBP issue number 14. First off, right off the bat, I wasn't sure what I was going to think of the storyteller covers, where the cover tells part of the story. I have to say, after seeing two of them, I hate them. I'd much rather have some sort of a flashy cover of some sort, something that grabs my eye, than this busyness. This one's kind of cute in the sense that it is an ad showing us a very young Cicero here, one of our main characters in the book, kind of the lead scientist. His growing up, a commercial he would have saw, an infomercial he would have saw when he was a little boy, part of his inspiration. This issue and next issue are going to deal with Cicero, where he came from, how he grew up, what he explored, how he got to where he is now in working for the Federal Bureau of Physics. So, in this first half, we get Cicero as a youth, kind of to some degree living the stereotypical life of a nerdy kid, getting beat up by the neighborhood bullies, but discovering a man who runs a TV repair shop and does physics on the side for whatever reason. Well, Cicero is an incredibly gifted boy, so he learns physics from this man, and in return for the man teaching him physics, he repairs televisions. Which is kind of interesting kind of thing. He ends up going on to school. He goes to this special university. At the university is kind of divided in half. There's two halves. Both halves are working to produce agents that will work for the Federal Bureau of Physics. One half are the brainy, research, stay in the lab kind of people, Cicero. And the other half is the field agents. Basically, they're the equivalent of smart jocks. At the school kind of gets drawn in those sorts of lines. You've got the jocks on one end, and you got the really smart people on the other end. There's some conflict that gets involved between those two groups. Cicero is challenged by one of his professors to branch out, to read something different, to not be one of the sheep that's just accepting of these new theories of physics and what is there. Gives him some books that he kind of ignores to start out with, is challenged by these jocks in a situation that he's put in, realizes that he's not the person that he thought he was, that he wasn't just the quiet person, that he was the go-getter, he was the take-charge person, and in that moment of inspiration, he reads this book that that was given to him by this other professor. Well, lo and behold, this book is kind of a fringe book. It's actually written by one of the other main characters in this book, Adam, written by his father, about rogue physics and stuff like that, which of course puts Cicero around a different path and a different philosophy of how to deal with and how to think about these physics disasters that are going on, that are relatively commonplace now for them to have a Federal Bureau of Physics department. So interesting. Curious to see what happens in the next issue. Get more of this Cicero character and see where that takes us. In this, we have the new artist in it. Alberto Ponticelli is doing the artwork on it. I love Alberto Ponticelli's artwork. I thought it was great. He did Frankenstein Ages of Shade, which is quite outstanding. He did the final part of Dial H. Also, really like his work. The first 3 or 4 pages in this are inked by Nathan Fox, who is the cover artist. I really like those pages. Those pages are really strong. Then the rest of the book is all Ponticelli art with a colorist on it. And the lines aren't as strong. All of his work that I've seen up until this point have always had an inker. And inking his own stuff, it just doesn't feel as strong. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm curious to see another issue to see what I think of it. I right now on the opinion that maybe he needs an inker to make his work stronger, make his work stand out. Maybe inking isn't his strong point. Or for him to ink his own work and stay on schedule it's rushed enough that it's costing him. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Like I said, we'll see going forward exactly what I think of it. Still really enjoy the book. I enjoy the concepts in it. Just good fun. Abe Sapien, issue number 17. Wonderful October cover here of a Santa Maria, skeletal mother, Mary Mother, basically grasping the head of Abe Sapien down here. The story continues to be Abe trying to figure out who he is. That's the main thrust I keep talking about with the book, and it's struck home in every issue, not with a blunt object. It's finely crafted, I think, to tell us this story about how he continues this struggle of trying to figure out who he is and where he fits in. The whole gas thing, whether or not the gas changed him, is kind of debunked to some degree in this. He struggles to decide where he's going to go to next. He finally capitulates and just listens to Grace, because Grace is finally like, look, I'm fed up with us going every place you think you want to go to try and find yourself, whatever, because we just get worse trouble every time we do that. So they're just rolling along into Alabama with a more population of people and see if that is a better answer for him than what he has right now. Really interesting book. Love the character. Abe's a great character. Book is well written. The Furama brothers. Right now, Sebastian does most of the work, but his brother sometimes does work on the book also. Their art is great. Matches up really well with the whole Hellboy Magnolia universe kind of a thing. So good stuff. Okay, IDWs. The October faction, issue number 1, Steve Niles and Damian Warm book. Was kind of excited when I read about this, heard about this. You basically are taking a retired monster hunter, a thrill killer, a warlock, and a witch, grouping together this family together, and they're going to go on some adventures or whatever. Sounded really cool, looked kind of cool, so I picked it up. Not super excited about the story right now. It's kind of giving you kind of a base of who these people are, implying that something's happening that may get the Monster Hunter back in the game. Right now, this first issue is more focused on him, but we do see some of the son and the daughter. But the problem with the artwork is it's so damn dark, it is hard to really see it. And I think that's just this guy's style. I think that's Warm's style, is just to do really, really dark stuff. So the artwork you can see looks cool, but it's a real struggle, except for that page. It's a real struggle to really be able to tell what's going on. To be able to tell what's going on in it. See that final page? I mean, not sure you can even tell 100% what's going on there. So yeah, I don't know. Of course, pre-ordered. I've got a few issues coming. We'll see if the story really grabs me going forward. If it doesn't, it'll chalk it up to one of those things where, oh, it's kind of a cool idea. If the art worked better, I'd probably hang around it longer because I like the idea of it, but it in and of itself wasn't really strong first issue. The art was a bit of a struggle to get around. Coffin Hill, issue number 12. Another one of those storyteller covers that I don't like. This one's problematic also because we've got Eve on the front cover there. The problem is they've drawn her as current Eve. She's got the blown out eye and the tattoos. And this story, which matches up with the first page on the inside, there, she doesn't have a blown eye and she doesn't have the tattoos, is the young Eve from 2012, doing some spell crafting. So obviously they didn't tell Dave Johnson what timeline that this Eve was supposed to be, because that's kind of a continuity faux pas kind of thing. Otherwise, still really love the story. Things are heating up all over the place in the past, here in the past story, to know she's discovered who the Ice Fisher killer is now. It's been confirmed for her. She's not in a very good place as far as that goes. So we'll get to discover what happens there. Meanwhile, in the current time, in prison, she is now being attacked by some obviously supernaturally charged inmates and prison guards. and she's having to defend herself. She ends up being rescued by one of the detectives that put her in prison in the first place, because that detective, where she doesn't really care for Eve, she'd like to see Eve go down, but she only wants Eve to go down for this if Eve really did it. So, curious story. The artwork in it is still amazing pants, I think. The tones and colors, the colorists are outstanding. The pencil work is outstanding. The mood that's set in it is great. Continue to love the fact that when she does spellcrafting and whatnot, she has the murder of crows that are all around her. Anytime she's doing the stuff, in this first page where she's spellcrafting, your crows all over the place. I love it. I love the feel of the book. I think it's cool. It's pretty awesome. Next up, Punks, the comic, #1. Very collage-based comic book. It's all cut and pasted. We are battling gnomes. It's whimsical. It is, well, not whimsical. It's very goofy. It's very kind of in a Young Ones kind of a sense. If you're familiar with the British TV show, The Young Ones from the 80s. It feels very much like that. It's got just goofy word games in the middle of it. There are flying death punches in it. You've got these characters. Abe's one of the characters. He literally is Abraham Lincoln. You've got Mr. Fist, who is a character who literally has a fist for a head. You got Bones, and you got Dog. Not a real story told in this, just kind of a goofy thing with lots of goofy stuff. I think there's some social commentary that's being thrown in here too. We'll see going forward. I'm curious to see what goes forward as far as that, how much of that's there. So it has kind of a punk feel to it, depending on what your definition and what you think you're going to get out of punk itself, the punk movement, the original punk movement, as far as music goes. It does have that flavor to it. It does uphold some of that stuff. We'll see going forward, exactly as I said, how that works out. I could never recommend this book to anybody because it is just so different from everything else. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was worth my money. I'm on board for now. I think it's one of those things, it's just one of those kind of things you pick it up, read it, and laugh about the silly things that's in it, and the what the fuck moments that happen, kind of a thing. But no mind-blowing story in it or anything like that. It's more kind of a zine type thing, and more of a quick commentary, I think, on society and social stuff and whatnot. I believe that's how I'm taking it now. We'll see a couple issues come out. Sex Criminals issue number 8. These really dull covers. I'm just not keen on these covers at all. For me, reading every issue of Sex Criminals is a roller coaster for me. I'll start reading it, and there'll be parts I'll like, and I'll go, oh, yeah, this is really good. And then I'll hit some parts where I go, oh man, oh man, oh man. And then I go, parts really good. And then, oh man, oh man, oh man. And that's kind of how this one is. Funny in that there's a character in here, a psychologist that John, one of our main characters, meets. And he's the artist. He looks exactly like the artist, except he's got a beard and mustache. And I don't think the artist currently has a beard and mustache. But otherwise, he basically is that person. It's just kind of funny. Let's see if I can find a decent picture of him. Yeah, there he is right there. That's him. Anyway, I'm still liking the book. I'm going to hang around. This is got kind of weird relationship type stuff in it, and I kind of like it. There's some sweet moments in it that I really enjoyed. Some realizations that are kind of interesting. And of course, some of our antagonists show back up at the very end of this thing, which kind of ties back into the whole main story that we've had up to this point. Curious to see where that goes. So I'm going to keep getting it. I like it more than I don't like it. It's, like I said, though, it's always an up and down read for me every time I do read it. Black Science issue number 9. I think this is the first issue that I read, and I wasn't like completely blown away by. The art is still really good in it. It just felt like nothing really came about in this issue. Normally it feels like things move forward in every issue. This one didn't have that, which was kind of surprising. We get some, normally we always get background stories in a lot of these issues, and the background helps make more of what's currently happening now relevant, because when this whole story started out, we were just kind of thrown into the thick of it, and we've slowly been getting bits and pieces of the history of these people to kind of knit together exactly where these people stand, what they represent, and what do they mean. And in this one, we get a backstory of Becca, the scientist who was kind of like a partner with Grant, and was his lover at one point, or yeah, at one point. And we get a story from her that I don't understand what the relevance is to it yet. So not real keen on that part of it. One of our main characters we thought was dead reappears in this. I don't know if it's the same character or if it's from a different dimension, because of course we're dimension hopping a lot, so that'll be all really interesting. Still a great book, but just was missing some of the stuff that has been in every issue up until this point. Do I think this is the end? Do I think this is you know, some serious dip in quality of the book? No. It's just, when the book's this good, when something starts to go a little different, you kind of want to talk about it. So that's what. And next up, a really talked about book, a lot before it actually came out. If you pay attention to the news sites or you pay attention to creators on Twitter, every creator under the sun read this book in advance, talked about how great it was, talked about how scary it was, and all this stuff. And that was Wytches issue number 1 by Scott Snyder and Jock on art with Hollingsworth on colors. I was on board with the book. I don't have a problem with Snyder. I love Jock's artwork. Hollingsworth does decent coloring on the stuff that I've seen him color. But this book was kind of a letdown, maybe because of the hype of it all. It was not that scary. I mean, I heard people talking about like, oh my God, I couldn't go to bed after they read this. No, it wasn't that at all. Very conventional horror in it. I mean, the first few pages were kind of cool. The violence that happens there was kind of, cool and special. We get a bully in this. I'm not sure what the motivation of the bully is, and because the bully is bullying this girl I don't know a whole lot about. I don't know why I'm supposed to be sympathetic to this girl that's being bullied, other than, I was bullied at points in my life, and so I could be sympathetic in that sense. But there's nothing about that character that makes me that attached to her to go, oh no, she's being bullied. I hope she gets helped out, because that really wasn't the case. So, yeah. There's some interesting stuff that happens in it. I'm going to keep getting it for a while, but I'm not super excited by it. I'll give it a couple issues. If something special doesn't happen in it, I may wait and go to trades and then wait to hear what people talk about. If they continue to talk about it being exciting, I'll pick up a trade. But I wasn't like super excited. I wasn't wowed by this. It's got woods and witches in it and witch type stuff in it. Coffin Hill has that in it, and you know what? I actually like Coffin Hill better. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And finally this time, as I'm trying to rush through these, not make the video too long, Copperhead issue number 2 continues to be this great Western set in space. I really enjoy it. It's got some of the more typical tropes of a Western movie or a Western TV show. We meet a doctor in here. He's the only doctor in town. He's drunk off his ass all the time. But still does the surgery, still does the job, still saves the day kind of thing. I was amused by that. I read this and it reminds me of all of those great TV shows and movies I watched as a kid on television. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I love the interaction between the sheriff and the deputy. Those deputies kind of irritated because he thought he should have been sheriff, except this new lady comes to town and gets to be sheriff instead. She's just trying to work the case. He's taking everything as being kind of a slight and an insult to him when she asks him questions. She just simply wants to understand how he would work the case so she can understand how they need to work together, because there's been this mass murder and they need to figure out what's going on. And so that's all really interesting. I like that interplay between the characters and stuff. That, to me, that's interesting. That's what makes these kinds of books more than just a pretty picture on a page, which it is. I love the artwork in this too. And then we got this guy who saves the children from his attack by some alien things that seem even more alien than the normal alien stuff that's on the planet. that skitter around in the night. That's all interesting. Can't wait to see how that plays out in the next couple books. I'll be curious. The first issue was written pretty strict script. The writer wrote it all, described it all, what they wanted, because they hadn't really been working a whole bunch with this artist. Artist does that issue. Then the writer, who's got commitments to some other writing stuff, couldn't write that strict of a script, so more with more of the Marvel way of doing the book. And if you're not familiar with the Marvel way of doing a book, Marvel used to do books. I don't know if they still do now, but how they used to do the books. The writer would give a basic plot line of what needed to happen from point A to point B, would give that to the artist. The artist would basically create the pages, create the panels, create the pacing, and all of that. And then the writer would go back in afterwards and write dialogue and whatever else is needed and whatever narrative is needed to match the pages that were drawn. So I'm wondering how much that will change the vision of what the writer had going on in it. So I'll be curious to see how that works going forward. Doing the Marvel way has worked really well and worked wonders for some teams, and other teams in the past I think it's failed miserably because the two aren't on the same wavelength, and I would bet it can be pretty difficult if your artist is drawing stuff that isn't what you wanted to have happen, suddenly start happening, and you have to try to figure out how to write dialogue and narrative around that. So, I don't know. We'll see. Be curious. I'm really loving it so far. Excited to be picking it up. Great that I found the second issue, since until issue 3 it's not on my pull. So, that's it. Some good books. Looking forward to next week. Should be a bunch more great independent books, and I will catch you all then.